By the way, I was corrected by a young student that actually it's not steamship anymore. It's ocean carrier, right? So the whole ecosystem has completely changed and evolved to this place where we really need to be changing the game with what we provide to our clients. And we, as the ocean carriers, I work for the second largest shipping line in the world, we are cognizant of that. And so we're teaming up to give you more visibility on your transparency in the feedering systems and, you know, at the origins and intra-Asia, so to speak, to the mothership, and then helping with more digital accuracy for transit times and ETAs. So I'd like to share with you a video of what we're doing. Turn up the volume for you. Might as well start over. Can you start over and hit the volume up, please? I guess it's a disruption at its finest. We're good on time, it's okay.
They may be lacking the actual work.
If you're in the business of moving things around the planet, you should know that something big is happening. Breakthrough technology is bringing intelligence to containers at price levels that make massive uptake possible for the first time. Data is being gathered and distributed on an unprecedented scale. Data that you know, data that you would like to know, data that you had not yet dreamed of, is now being captured systematically, automatically, and securely. Innovative data models are used to bring just the right information to just the right people at just the right time. To devices in their pockets, to computers on their desks, to data centers at the heart of your organizations. And it's changing the way that you think about moving things. It's giving you the information you need to manage unexpected events. It's giving you the vision to plan for another future. Whether you call it the Internet of Big Things or Big Data, it's big. One company is leading the way. Traxons.
So as you can see, Mediterranean Shipping Company, we understand your concern for transparency in your digital supply chain, and we're investing in these devices that will be adhered to the container for the life of the container. So don't give up on the ocean carriers yet. We're innovating. So now I go to our illustrious panel, and I've got a question for Ravi. What are the roadblocks for you, Ravi, in your digital transparency world?
So before I go to my perspective, I guess I'm just curious, how many shippers do we have in the audience? How many service providers? Okay. How many students? Okay. How many people just playing hooky, getting out of work? Okay, so I guess a little bit about me. Ravi Dosanjh, I work with Armstrong and Associates. Prior to my current role, I spent 20 years in freight forwarding and distribution, loading trucks, moving air cargo, ocean cargo, so on and so forth. So I guess my perspective is a little bit different, right? One, I think in this day and age, we're hearing about a lot of amazing things. We're seeing a lot of technology innovations. We spent quite a bit of time talking about blockchain and what that can do with supply chain. At the same time, a lot of our clients, they're looking at how transparency is potentially affecting some of the business, right? So I mean, as an example, I can say when you look at truck brokerage space, if you look at the advent of companies like Uber entering that space, that's compressing margin for truck brokers. And you think about it from that standpoint, you think about it from the kind of the legacy domestic transportation, the legacy air cargo standpoint. I personally think the roadblocks are more cultural and more behavioral as opposed to technology related. So, I'm hearing really nice things about blockchain. I think there's a lot of application there. I'm hearing a lot of things about digital transparency, technology to support, e-booking and things like that. I think we need to probably do a better job including some of the parties that are fearful of these technologies, and as long as these parties are a little bit apprehensive, I think they're going to throw a lot of larger participation. So from my standpoint, I think the biggest, one of the key issues in the transparency is the behavior of people within that chain.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you very much. Dan, can you comment?
I would echo that. I think our biggest roadblocks as a first mile, last mile carrier have to do with behavior. And they fall into, as I see it, three categories. The first one is single source of truth. You've heard it mentioned a couple times up here today. Single source of truth. Everybody with their spreadsheets being emailed back and forth, that is in the way. In the way. So getting internal and external customers to understand the single source of truth as a principle that is necessary for supply chain excellence is a behavior thing. And then that's what I face. I have our adoption issues with users. So I started early enough that my first battle was to get the clients to accept an email instead of a fax. And that was a years-long battle of, I'm going to send you an email, not a fax. And that went on a long time. Now, I have them on email, but I don't want them on email. It's 2018. I'm trying to get them to look at my web pages where all that visibility from our system is. And really, I want them to hook my API and just pull the data into their system. I want an email. One, they sound just like the same guys that want a fax.
The audience know what a fax machine is.
Hey, there's guys in here that remember.
I think the guys in the back know what a fax machine is.
That's right.
They curl up and fall underneath the table, so you never got that order. That was the excuse I always used.
That's right.
So then the other one is visibility. When we're talking about digital visibility, the roadblock is visibility. So I have clients on our system that want to show their customers' invoices on the web, but they don't want their customers to see their credits. I don't want to tell you that. I don't want to give you that visibility because you'll ask for those credits against your existing invoices.
So do you think that I should be transparent with my precious data?
I think you should be transparent. Just like the guy who should be showing his inventory to the clients and doesn't want to show his transactions and stand in the way because he doesn't want to show his corrections. And when we start looking at transparency, we have to talk about transparency to our rivals as well. This may be different depending on where you are in the supply chain, but when you're in the middle of the supply chain and you're one of those links, you're a small company like I am, part of our service isn't just moving the product off the port into the end user. Part of our service is providing data. Right? So I can't think of data just as power, and I can't think of data just as a competitive advantage. I have to think of data as a service over here to Ravi. And in providing that service to Ravi, I'm going to be transparent with some of my rivals.
So data is really crucial. The next slide, actually, Deming says it best. Without data, we're just another man's opinion. And the next slide, actually, I love because it talks about if companies don't innovate and accelerate, as many of the speakers spoke today, they're going away in droves. Hundreds of Fortune 500 companies are going out of business. And we that are evolving in the digital world will yield 55% more revenue, gross revenue margin than the laggards that are not investing in technology today. So it's really a must. And that's going to permeate across all channels of the industry. Clint?
Yep. So,
yes, we hear you fine.
Go to the next slide, please. So, in order to tee up the conversation a little bit more, we thought this was a good illustration of where data meets business strategy and the imperative of having good, deep, broad visibility. And so traditional IT is all about assets or data-driven assets. Your devices that capture data, RF guns, iPads, ELD devices and transportation units, the boxes that you use to store the data. Of course, there's the infrastructure. How do I pass and move the data around? So your networks, those are hard assets. Where that comes together is when we look at what we want to do with the data. So your insights, your strategies, your business imperatives. And what they always are hungry for is better, sharper information so that you can make longer range decisions, sharper decisions that require less deviation from, you know what I mean, when we're trying to staff up. I'm always looking for more length in terms of the deep data that goes out as far as I can possibly see, or back as far as I can possibly see. So that's the visibility piece. So we advance the slide here. You'll see that they overlap when it comes to business processes. There we go. So the overlap is where the digital core and digital stack collide. And so that's the navigation of those hard assets. So what decisions are we going to make? What processes are we going to run? We look at our planning process. We look at our capital spending planning process. We want to have data that helps us make good decisions. And in a business like I am, I'm always pressing Dan, we work with the same company, for more visibility. Because if I'm trying to make a staffing decision, whether I staff up plus or minus 5 or plus or minus 10 depends on my confidence in that data, or how far out I get that data, or I'm left to look at historicals, right? And so when you scale that up over a large organization, that can have really large impacts on the bottom line, right? So we want to be able to make proactive decisions, be independent, and use the data to transform things. So that's digital transformation, and it really comes into play around business processes when we talk about transparency and visibility. I want to see all of my customers and suppliers, what's going on with them, those things that impact me. If I can see that, I can make more informed decisions, as well as the depth of the data that I have, how far out can I see. So this is our panel. Quickly wanted to introduce all of them. We're a little bit out of order, but that's okay. You heard from Daniel Heykoop. Dan's a VP at a company called MHX. Dan's worked in logistics more than 20 years with experience ranging from Fortune 500 companies, including IBM and General Motors, and has had management assignments in production, materials management, IT, transportation. Dan's basically done it all. We work together at a company called MHX. We work in the middle layer between ports and customers that use industrial commodities. So they're heavy grade aluminum and steel that we use for high grade construction projects, buildings, bridges, hard solar America. So that's what we do, transportation, transload, and storage.
Ravi Dosanjh, he introduced himself.
That's Ravi Dosanjh over there. Ravi's an EVP for Armstrong Associates. He drives advisory functions on international transportation and supply chain strategy. He's previously served as a board member and EVP for NNR Global Logistics, as well as has held several positions at UPS, Expeditors International, Washington, DSV, and DB Shrinker. Ravi currently sits on the board of Integrated Service Specialists Incorporated and is a senior advisor to DEI Corporation. Thanks for joining us, Ravi. And then Ed Zraik, who you haven't heard from yet. Ed is a supply chain management professional with over 20 years consulting and industrial experience across several industries, including retail, publishing, transportation, packaging. He has deep experiences in supply chain strategy, planning, inventory optimization, service parts management, and transportation logistics. That's our panel today. Oh, and I couldn't forget Stephanie Hughes. Stephanie's a proven and accomplished strategic relationship builder with multinationals. She works for MSD.
That's right, that's all that matters.
So we're going to leave this image up as kind of a reference point. We talk about the digital network and where transformation of transparency comes into place across the network when it comes to shippers all the way to consignees, different legs and nodes within the transportation network. So they may reference some of these things as we're going along as a reference point behind us. All right, so I have a question. Ed, could you describe what are some of the visibility blind spots that you deal with day to day in your business?
Sure. So right now I work for Scholastics, which is just to give you a context, we're about a $2 billion revenue company. We're the largest children's book publisher in the world, and distributor. We have about $100 million logistics spend. That's kind of a for-hire logistics spend. We also have a private fleet that's not part of that number, about a 300-truck private fleet. And the biggest issue we're having right now, I've been in the company now about a year and a half, and the biggest issue we're struggling with is really at the bottom of the data hierarchy we showed before. It's really just trying to get even to one version of truth or one repository of data so that we don't have to try to piecemeal data for decision making and transacting. So to that end, we're like probably still many companies. Many companies don't have end-to-end ERPs in one platform with all the modules talking together with harmonized data and all those things. We're just starting that journey now. So our first step over the past year and a half is we've put in Oracle Transportation Management. I run inbound. It's totally up and running for inbound. We've got it for our fleet now, and we're still working on the outbound stuff. It's a little more complex with our legacy WMS systems. But the point being is, to me, that's a huge challenge right now, to try to get the data. And it's so far away from what we heard the other speakers talking about. Because right now, Excel is my best friend. It's also my worst enemy. Excel is one of the most expensive planning and coordination tools, but it's also one of the most powerful. And the reason why I say that is, I think Ravi referred to it, but if you use Excel and people are working in Excel and they're trying to update Excel spreadsheets, or maybe if you're going to Google Sheets where it's got a little better synchronization capability, it relies on humans to go update that. Things get out of sync, and people start making multi-million-dollar decisions daily on Excel. Hugely powerful, and the reason why it's so powerful is because almost anyone can write a formula. Almost anyone can start to do data analysis. So Excel really fills the need for when you're on disparate systems and doing this, but it's also very costly, and it's not something where you can sustain a supply chain, in my opinion, long term. So to me, the biggest gap is getting to that one source of truth, and then dynamically keeping up to date. It's one thing to have a system in place. This gets to some of the behavioral things, but if people don't understand that they have to feed the beast and do their transactions to make sure, and when they get new information, making sure the information is up to date, that's kind of within our own four walls. We're still training that to try to get the value out of the tools. Once I have that going, my really next visibility gap is going to be getting value out of that data. This is starting to put some basic supply chain analysis and optimization analysis to help me start to improve my supply chain. And then kind of step 3, once I get that going really well, it's really starting to get much more sophisticated, getting some predictive analytics going on, some better forecasting, all sorts of like truly integrated supply chain analysis, so that I'm in the logistics guy. I'm not doing something in logistics that's really lowering my cost, but just pushing the cost over into the supply planners, where just now I'm ballooning their inventories, or I'm doing something to them, or slowing them down and creating bad service or something like that. And that to me is really the data visibility gap that I'm struggling with, is the one version of the truth. And then once I get it in my four walls, then it kind of goes without saying, now I have to have my trading partners being able to feed that system.
What percentage is EDI versus API?
Yeah, yeah, right now a big struggle with that. So once I get the system transaction, I largely have that now with OTM, at least in my logistics context. Now I need to get feeds in from my carriers. I'm running inbound, right? And I get those. I've got my EDI. I'm using EDI for the most part. I have API capabilities. I use it selectively. But once the data that's coming in, to me the protocol is not as big of an issue. Even blockchain, I would have the same problem if I had some way of using blockchain to get this data, is the data still has to be updated by someone. It still has to be reliable. So today we get transit times or ETAs, but they're just based on standard transit times. People don't really dynamically update them, or when they update them with bad information from carriers. And it doesn't, I mean, it's helpful, but it doesn't help me that much. And so to me, those are two really big gaps from my perspective.
Okay, thank
It'd
you.
be interesting to know what percentage of your EDI information that's being populated is actually manual information that's being uploaded on the other end, right? And, at Armstrong, we work with a lot of mid-market 3PLs and shippers, and it's amazing. They say, "Hey, we're on EDI." This was the first step away towards transforming, but their ability to police themselves internally, police their suppliers, when they do take a look at it, it is a lot of manual entries, incorrect entries, and then also the latency of those entries too. So it's nice to know that the liner pulled into portal language, but you want to know, as it's pulling up and when it gets there, you want to know that in real time, not 2 days later, right?
Yeah, one further point to that, you brought up a really good point. We have a large LTL spend, and I won't pick on the particular carrier by name, but there's one very large carrier, you would all know the name. We've been having issues with billing, being able to pay them. The billing is coming in, and it doesn't match up to what the bills of lading say. It doesn't work. Now we're on full EDI capability. We tender by EDI to this carrier, and their billing comes back inaccurate. And the reason that is because they get an EDI signal and they don't use it. Someone manually looks at the screen with the EDI camera and types it into another system. This is one of the largest LTL carriers in North America that does this, and that blows me away. So EDI, nothing wrong with EDI itself. It's the information feeding.
I'm on the other end of EDI, and I have a development team that has to custom design everybody that we talk to. The same EDI transmission, I have to custom design off the fields. It is not the standardization hoped for. So in between, there's that manual step so often until I can get it ironed out. That is difficult.
It's a struggle, right?
Yeah.
But the data exists electronically, and it's cheaper, or they've deemed it cheaper to have someone manually enter and deal with the mistakes, right?
I'd like to get PDFs that somebody has to scan and still have the original document, the information in the PDF, but somebody who has that scans it, sends it to me. I've got to have somebody manually put it in. So, these are the challenges of, we have data technologies that are not deployed even at their simplest state. We need to keep working with it.
Yeah, not leveraged properly. A story about our company comes to mind when I think about visibility blind spots. Our CEO approached us and said, "Hey, the margins look really good in that container drayage business. We had already been doing an amount of storage for customers that drayed containers, but we hadn't gone in the next leg and said, let's pull it off the port. So we journeyed off to set up how we would pull containers in our own container division. And the lack of visibility into the inbounds was paralyzing. And we learned some heavy lessons during that time. I thought it might be good if you shared a little bit about how you have navigated through that, some of the challenges of building a new unit that needs a new type of visibility.
We have a boss that says, let's go do containers and let's do it tomorrow. So we had very little lead time as we built this out and started to take on the trade ourselves. And the first challenge is, which containers are mine? The second challenge is, how do I get these containers? Who do I need to talk to? And it turns out, I've got to schedule them. I've got to schedule them online. I've got to schedule them through multiple different systems because I have multiple different shippers showing up at multiple different first. Right? There's no unified system for me to do that through. Now, the appointments aren't. The boss thinks I can make appointments through next Friday. I can't make appointments through next Friday. I can make 2 days of appointments and then from time to time they'll release more appointments. So now I have a team of people that have to be on 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. or 2 in the afternoon for some reason. You guys think 2 in the afternoon is special and that's when you release your appointments? So we're challenging those. I'm thinking all I need is people to grind out appointments and so we can go pick them up. But then it turns out that, you know, there's congestion in the ports. I don't know, you've maybe encountered that from time to time. You have a set of appointments, you left a couple hours in between each one to be able to get it. Something happens, they miss it, and that one that you missed, the prices are so punitive after your last 3 days that it means I need to reschedule tonight as today's happened. So it wasn't just the what is our stuff question, and it wasn't just how do I schedule our stuff, another data question. It was how do I put those pieces together live, because I am getting the feedback. Joe didn't get the container. Well, Joe has to get that container or it's going to be a big bill. Well, Joe didn't get it, so now I have to somehow get MSC to give me an appointment for tonight at 8 p.m., which they maybe will.
Well, we have an interest in the Port of Long Beach TTI terminal, so we could probably make that happen.
Yeah, we can talk about that. That journey, you know, of discovery is one of, I thought it was a certain sort of data solution, which is transformed over time. And the thing that I need most is transparency. I need to know how much the can weighs. I know how much product weighs. Why is there no universal database of every can?
They're all manufactured in China. Maybe our friend living in Shanghai can help you out.
Because depending on that can weight, depending on that product weight, I can send a truck trailer combination. Clint has to send it down.
We can.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, get it picked up, or is it heavy? You know, and again, my efficiency of being able to get it and deliver it to Scholastic on time is data transparency.
I think maybe one of the...
What's up, Brad? It's the port operation itself. Can we take a question from Mariana from Del Monte? Hold on 1 second.
Oh, you missed, I was saying what great stuff you were saying. Some of the areas I'm familiar with, some not. But the thing that kind of strikes me as you're talking about is the piece that's missing is you have to have collaboration at the top of this stream before you have data and data transparency. Because if you have the ocean carrier talking to you about how service performance works, sets the right expectation around the vessels, the terminals they call, what's the standards in terms of discharging a vessel with 10,000 containers, and then understanding the terminal operations better and where access information that kind of gets you started to understand what's the data you need to see and how are you going to measure it. And I'm probably in the wrong place, but it's my frame of reference. I like what the Port of Oakland has done because they instituted a task force efficiency group about 2 or 3 years ago, and we meet on a quarterly basis at the port, and the folks that are sitting there, shippers, terminal operators, longshore, drayage companies, data management, and the port. And it's amazing how you can really address a lot of ambiguity, right? In terms of who's responsible for what are the turn times at various terminals, right? And what things are they looking at, and what things will they be open to based on feedback from the stakeholders, and that includes the drayage companies, because they're such a vital, right, part of that. And you're the guys that make or break how much I'm paying on demurrage, right? Am I getting my containers back? I'm not paying per diem. All of that stuff, but I think you have to have a good dialogue and expectation setting. So I'm sorry, I'm sort of lecturing, not asking you a question, but I thought it was really great comments that are areas you're covering.
We can put you in another chair.
Yeah, I actually asked her if she'd join us.
Well, I think we've got now finally technology, right? You know, I was referring back to the culture of change, and there's also change management, right? So I was talking to Jennifer at GE Transportation. She won the award this morning, and I know from the Port of Long Beach, but you know, it seems like they're doing the same thing here as far as a collaborative environment, getting everybody talking.
That's right,
getting on the same page, right? So I think everybody's doing the right thing. I think, you know, yeah, I kind of feel bad for the students in the back of the room. We're talking about such sexy things like blockchain, and AI, and IoT, and now we're talking about
the
fax
reality.
machines, and we can't find that stuff, right? But I think, you know, the tide is turning as we get new professionals into supply chains and transportation, relevant to logistics, and that culture is changing. I think we will see more and more moving towards this transparency and efficiency. I think we're kind of in this weird spot. A lot of customers I speak to, hey, tell me about IoT, tell me about AI, tell me about blockchain. How are you managing your supply chain? Excel, right? So, you know, they're looking at the sexy stuff, but, you know, there's some practical things that need to be sorted out. So I think we're all talking about the same things. I think, you know, I've been in the industry for 20 years. I started off as a Teamster loading trucks. I know that culture, hard to change. But I think now we're at a time when technology exists, we're having collaborative discussions, and I think the culture is changing as we're getting the younger generation into supply chain.
Definitely.
Yeah, that real quick while we're talking about it. Just on the positive side, you know, I'm talking about a lot of problems because the question's about challenges, and we do have disparate data, but, and I think Dan would probably appreciate hearing me say this. Some of the carrier systems that do exist, while they're disparate and they're separate from mine, which makes it more difficult because I only put, you know, a portion of my business with this carrier and this carrier for good reasons. The other carrier can't serve me or for whatever reason. So marrying that up becomes very hard. But there are things I can do within the stratosphere of carriers. So we're starting to use partnerships. We're using one of my big carriers here is in the audience, and we're doing something at the railhead of St. Louis, which we're going to extend over into the port here in Long Beach. But the carrier has a lot of data, large freight forwarder with a lot of data. They have pretty robust systems. It's not perfect data, but we're just starting to use the data, right? I mean, that's a big part of it. And one thing I'm struggling with in the organization that I have is I don't have people who necessarily know how to use the data. This is really an opportunity for students. So I'm the chief teacher, supply chain teacher, as well as trying to operate the supply chain with my team. And what we're doing is we're going in and we're having collaborative sessions with the carrier. We're saying, okay, what data do we have? We're creating a forecast from the port. 14 days out to what's going to hit the railhead in St. Louis, because we're getting backlogs with the dray carriers. The dray carrier is involved in this. We're creating, the team's created a forecast of what's going to land. And what they were struggling with, the reason why they had never done this in the past was, well, we don't know if the container's going to land today, tomorrow, or the next day. said, who cares? It's a law of large numbers, get close. And then let's make a plan on what's close, and then we'll adjust. We started doing that just this year. Last year we had a backlog of about 100 containers sitting at the railhead waiting to get moved through. And the dray carrier would start to get behind depending on what was happening with appointments and issues like that. They were doing yard pulls through yard, which costs us money, and we understand that to help smooth us out. But then all of a sudden it'd be working fine, and then bam, we'd have a hot container, we'd have 10 or 15 hot containers, and we couldn't get enough trucks on that day to get all the hot containers. So inevitably a couple of them would be late, and a hot container could cost us $100,000 a day for a hot container if it doesn't show up when they're going to drop it to the floor for packing. So these were big disruptive events. This year, our backlog is 0. The most it got to was 28 containers, and we engineered that backlog because we realized we didn't need to pressure the carriers because those 28 containers could wait over the weekend. We didn't need them. We didn't need to run our facility with overtime. We've reduced overtime. We've done this. So the point being is there's a lot of data out there, even though it might not be continuous. It's great to have containers and do all this great predictive stuff and do really cool things with that. But we need people with skills who can actually use simple Lean Six Sigma stuff, who can use box plots, who understand the difference between an average and a standard deviation, and how you actually work on the standard deviation rather than the average, right? And with that, you can do very powerful things. And so that's something our organization's trying to learn and try to what I call weaponizing the data. You know, the data's here. It's one thing just to track a container. It's another thing to look at the history of containers and figure out how I can reduce my standard deviation about transit times. Because there's a lot of money in just being somewhat predictable, or at least putting reasonable buffers on the transit time that aren't too big and not too small.
That's great. And you know, to that accord, I'd say to Dan, what do you think are the largest areas of opportunity in your existing supply chain? What's on your wish list?
Yeah, on the wish list for a business like ours is maybe surprisingly mundane, but we saw earlier today about how few early adopters there are and how many late movers. And so automation, automated data gather, automated data recording. There's a big pool of companies out there for these students to consider. There is a huge market that somebody needs to help shepherd us through, bringing automation to small and medium business. Same goes, although with more significance, to resource deployment. Now that I have the data gathered, now I need systems to plan my resource deployment. And that's maybe where AI is going to come in, but deriving meaning from the data we gather is not the same thing, right? Students, I mean, we can put people out together data all day, but then to pull meaning out of it, that's where we need to use mind. And I think those are the two key ones in our chain. The other that I would challenge you to, this is going to be slightly different, but for any of you that are interested in BOP or the next billion, where are our next billion consumers going to come from? And our next billion consumers are coming from areas like Haiti, where I do some work on water and other products. And the questions in Haiti, in order to get water, medicine, and toothpaste, are supply chain questions. And they need supply chain solutions. And so there's a great opportunity there. And they can leapfrog the decades we've spent developing where we're at with a little different approach. So the next billion consumers are a huge opportunity. But you're going to have to think outside of the box of where we've been. And you'll be bringing a lot of good to a billion people.
So what's a takeaway that people could think about as they go into work on Monday, let's say, and want to do something different with the way they're viewing their supply chain? Is there any nuggets of wisdom or advice?
Well, I'm always going to say, sorry for it to be here again, I'm always going to say single source of truth. It's the mental discipline you've got to bring your people to. Adoption is going to be an HR effort, not necessarily your HR department, it's an HR effort. It's part of supply chain, adoption. And then there is the question of transparency. Will I open up and show my customers that may not reflect well.
Can you give an example of that?
If I produce my transaction logs for inventory, I have to show you the corrections I make. In showing you the corrections I make, I'm showing you what a bad customer service rep you have because she puts in your inventory because it's not on behind, so it's by hand. And then she gets it wrong, or he gets it wrong. I have more men. It's just human. And it's not that your inventory is wrong, but you know, it was 4:30 in the afternoon. She had to get some shipments out, and she missed that one line, so there's a correction line. Is that bad to show us transparency? You have to live with that. You have to be able to live with that. It is more important to me. I've got my single source of truth. My single source of truth has that sort of transparency in it. I'm in favor of it.
If I can't see my pain, I can't fix it. That's what I always tell my carriers. Show me the pain I cause you, and I'll show you the pain you cause me. It's the only way we can fix it.
I think in this day and age of talking about, you know, public ledgers and things like that, we get into a very black and white situation, right? So, if I can think of one word and something that people can think about as they go back to their jobs, is really collaboration, right? So the technology is there, people are there. If they're not talking, they're not collaborating and finding ways to solve those problems, then those things remain in silos, right? So, you know, I think for the USC, you know, the team, the students, you know, when you're thinking about entering the workforce or applying what you've learned, I think collaboration is a key point. You know, whether you're in strategic sourcing, you know, network operations, finance, what have you, you know, finding a way to collaborate internally, collaborate with your suppliers, and the entire ecosystem.
You know, that single source of truth point is so paramount. And if you're an ops or trans like I am, you never want your people questioning that data's got to be right. And so I'm interested in understanding how you guys make sure that the data is always right. If you're going to be transparent and share it all, one thing you can't have is people doubting and second guessing what you get it. What are your tactics towards addressing that?
What I do is I assume the data is going to be wrong, and I train them to expect it, and then train them to how to look at it to correct it. That's a big thing we're going through right now with some of the forecasting projects I've got going on, some other collaboration. I'm trying to train my kind of folks who are routing my freight to become analysts. I think everyone working in the supply chain also has to be a supply chain analyst. I firmly believe that you have to be able to handle data. It's the minimum demand in my view in this day and age. And a big part of that, I actually teach them the classes after hours. I actually get on and do web access one. And the biggest part of that is check your data. We got to check it. We got to rationalize it. And then when I'm working across the aisle with my forwarder or carrier or someone ahead in the supply chain in my planning department, we always caveat everything we do. These are the sources of data. We talk about the source data, how our methodology went to go do it. Let's work through this. Does this seem reasonable? And so to me, it's a lot about setting expectations because I'm in this disparate system environment. When I get to, my last company, I went through an end-to-end SAP implementation. A big part of that implementation was we really focused on that. We focused on what other people sometimes miss. We put in very robust master data up front before we ever went live. And we did tons of data validation. So day one, largely the system had credibility. So going into one version of truth, I would say you need to work really hard on working on credibility, and that's absolutely critical on your master data efforts. I ran enterprise master data as part of my last role as head of global planning for a large manufacturer. And the biggest thing I did, I convinced the company when we were getting ready to do SAP was I needed a huge master data team. The consultants, who was my former employer, essentially was doing the integration, convinced the senior management they needed 3 people on master data. I said, yeah, maybe in 2 years, we're starting out with 20. And we started 24 months before they even started configuration of master data. And when we went live, I mean, we weren't flawless. Nothing's ever flawless, but we were, I think, as good as you could get. but we invested up there. And then the other big part, a lot of other people participated in this, but there was a big data credibility thing we had. We talked about feeding the beast, your transactions need to be right, and we had managed all the company really focused on that. And that made a big difference. We did a big bang approach, though. We did every module, every function, re-engineered the whole organization all at once, and I think that made a big difference.
I believe in good data works. Basically, you have to eat the meal you cook. So the data you put in is the data you live from. And I always want those links to be there for the person who's most responsible for the data is the one that is going to be the most accurate. So when we design our business processes, I love the data validation. Absolutely, that has to go on all the time. I'm checking that. But if I know I have to live with the data I put in, you know, it's better, guaranteed. And you can build those into your physical processes when they use that.
Should we go to questions in the audience? Any questions, anyone? Mariana? Del Monte?
So I was talking, gentleman behind me.
Alan Clifford, our Executive Vice President. So happy he's here.
Thank you. You're welcome. But I'm just here to put Alan forward. Another item, and it, I think dovetails to the points you're talking about, is compliance, and really having strong compliance around data integrity and metrics to measure that with your vendors and suppliers, because it's that old adage, what you don't measure, you don't value, but that does work. And an example, and I'm kind of drawing obviously from my world, is if I look at, one of the supply chain platforms we use, GT Nexus, and they have a data completeness reporting they do, and they have a community of shippers that are engaged, and and also the forwarders, carriers, etc. But one of the things, to make a long story short, is that evolved probably over the last 5-6 years is if you look at EDI and event completeness, generally the ocean carriers had very high 98 percentile, 95 percentile event completeness, meaning that they were reporting major milestone activities. And the largest forwarders, if you go back that period, they didn't. Their data, their event completeness was not as good. But because of the metrics, the management, and also understanding the challenges, but being measured on it, they now, over that period of time, their data completeness is, pretty close on par with the ocean carriers. So it's like you really have to measure things and have compliance around it, and those things do then people take action on it if they see it's being, performance is being measured.
And I think for that point, aside from technology, just having supplier contracts and expertise in there, and managing all of those, right? So now we're talking about, data latency, accuracy, visibility, what have you, without going on blockchain, what have you, you can manage that, right? And you can do that by, incentivizing or penalizing your supplier, right? So I think the key there, Mariana, is managing all those different nodes within, right? So it's not, we need these milestones to be uploaded. It's, what's the latency? How quickly do we need it? What are the different milestones? How do you verify those, whether they're EDI connections, and then what's the backup verification? And then what happens if you don't do it? Right? So yeah, agreed that it's something that you could drive, and you could drive that through technology or manual supplier management. Yeah, that's important.
Any other questions, students? Any questions back there? Yes, Alan Clifford.
Hi, good afternoon. I want to touch on the comment, this gentleman, you have to excuse me, I don't know your name. Ed, I'm sorry. That you made up regarding visibility. You made it probably halfway we were speaking about the importance of transparency and visibility. And, you know, as an ocean carrier kind of guy, I hear about it from my shippers and receivers, from anybody, all the time. My entire life is based on transparency. The only thing is that when I drive, I live in the state of New Jersey, you can tell from my accent, I'm certainly not from California. But no, that's true, it's true. The fact of the matter is that when I go to my local Exxon station in Edison, New Jersey, and on Monday the gas was $2.25, Jersey taxes, the gas is cheap. And then on Wednesday it jumps to $2.45 a gallon. And I say to the guy behind the gas pump, what's going on? First of all, he's not going to understand what I'm saying. But the second thing is, he's going to look at me and say, do you want the gas? That's a very, very important concept. The fact is that transparency, I think, is very important. But there has to be somewhat of a limit in all this. It's not like, you show me yours and I'll show you mine kind of thing. It's something that has, I've given a lot of thought to, and I'm willing to be transparent in any possible way I can. Yet I'm running a business. I'm running a big business. And there has to be some type of end game and understanding when it comes to that. There has to be a bit of trust. And that's the key that at times I don't see, especially in the United States, among providers like myself, manufacturers, and people there. I find that in other countries in times, let's say in Europe, or the Middle East, or even in Africa, I find that there's more of a repartee, there's more of a give and take when it comes to that. And I try very hard to have that type of trust between my clients. Sometimes, you just have to trust me, that I'm not going to shoot you against the wall. You just have to believe in me, and I'll give you transparency. I'll show you anything you want. Yet in the end, there has to be a certain amount of trust, because if you have trust, I'm going to make sure that you're whole, and in turn, when I need your help, I need you to make sure that I'm whole. Data is very, very important when it comes to that, and I'm willing to do that. We have Power BI, we have AI, we do a lot of work at MSC at my steam shop. I'm sure the other carriers who are here too. But I'm always very concerned of how much transparency you ultimately need to make that deal. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
You understand what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that you don't deserve it. You do deserve it. When I began in the industry, there was no transparency. It was the gas station guy. It was like, here's my ship, and here's my rate, and have a good day. So I'm happy to do that. But like anything, like in politics, it's never too good to be too far to the left or too far to the right. You know where I'm going here, right?
We had this debate among the panel actually before about should you be totally transparent or should not. And I think a couple, Dan and I were having kind of an interesting exchange. And I'm like, yeah, I want you to be 100% transparent, but I don't want to be transparent at all. I'm saying that facetiously. But you do have to, I think you have to be careful how much you share too. I think data is very powerful when you collaborate and show it both ways. And I think Dan can give you a lot of good examples, whereas I can even give you good examples where we've been extremely transparent. I'll say I'll give you anything you want, but there's other times data can take on a life of its own. And you might be being fully transparent about this one transaction or this group of transactions or process or whatever, but that data now exists out in that domain. Maybe it's not the public domain, but it's between partners. And that data can eventually take on a life of its own. It could be used for ways it was not intended and can sometimes cause harm. So I think there's a level of trust that has to be in it, and I think you have to think about really what are the objectives of sharing. Don't share just to share. Share because there's a clear stated objective that you're trying to drive towards and discuss what's going to be valuable and what's not. I can give you two real quick examples of this where a trading partner was willing to be too transparent with me, and I stopped them just twice in the last year. I think most of you or some of you will be familiar with what's been going on in the truckload environment, driver shortages, rates rapidly rising. Anyways, lots of problems for shippers, brokers, carriers, lots of disruption that's caused. And I think a lot of you probably have the context for what I'm talking about, but we had, in the process, I started having service failures. with the carrier, and I had a rate agreement that was pretty ironclad that said you're supposed to deliver these loads at this price, and there was a service level agreement in the contract that was black and white, and it was measurable, because I try to make anything I can measurable, because you can't control what you don't measure. And you can imagine the carrier wanted out of it. And because it was becoming very harmful for them financially. And we did talk through it and get through it, but in part of that process, what we found out was, because they were starting to tell me where they needed to raise prices and where we needed to do this, and we're trying to work with them through it, because they really truly were caught by surprise. But what we found out is they thought they were doing me a favor, where before, when they contracted with us, they kind of gave us these rates, and on some lanes they were underwater, some lanes they were making higher profit, but in net, they they reverted to the mean, and so overall they made money, and I probably overall got a fair price. And pardon my French here, but they screwed me with that contract, right? That was one of the worst things they could have done, because they need to let me feel the pain on the lanes that I have that are hard to deal with, and they need to give me a low rate on the lanes that are easy to deal with, because then that's transparency, because if I have a lane from point A to point B that is very expensive to service, I know it's expensive to service, I can feed that to my sourcing people, and that can be a factor in their total cost of ownership model. If I have a lane that's highly variable, them blanketing that by over-subsidizing a lane and not letting me see the pain of that lane doesn't allow me to do things to reduce variation and to address the consequences of my sourcing decisions. Make sense? Sure.
We just have one minute left. Go ahead.
Yes.
You would have preferred that.
I would have absolutely preferred that.
But as the providers become less and less and less, you have to modify a bit your expectations. In other words, if you talk about steamship lines, and maybe in one trade lane there used to be 10, and there was 8. Now there's 5. Look around the corner, maybe 3. So whereas, you could dig your feet into the ground, for lack of any other phrase, 10 years ago, maybe in 2019 you may have to say it.
I think this is a fantastic discussion of bricks.
It is, yeah. We should.
Let's definitely resume this conversation at the bar.
Yeah,
I agree.
To wrap it up, I think you misunderstood the point. We didn't dig in. We worked with them to get them corrected, but we found out in the process, had they been sharing information, we could have prevented from being in that situation in the first place. That was the point.
Please, yes, we're out of time. Please, of course, Ravi, for you, yes.
One is, I think, responsible procurement practices, something that the providers would like to see, and then hopefully collaboration will help foster that, right? Just because somebody says the market rate is 0, and I can do it for 0, doesn't make it the market rate. And the other thing is, I think it's incumbent on the shippers to really get an understanding of where the market rates are derived from, right? So again, different providers have different strategies. Just because a provider wants to come in and buy a certain lane or segment doesn't necessarily make that the market rate, right? So, and that could be why we're bleeding at that time, right? So, anyway, again, I'm an intermediary, advisor. So
I don't need to be argumentative, but that was a shipper that was here for 5 years with us. That was a long-term partnership.
Okay, well, gentlemen, thank you so much for this, and thank you to the wonderful team of champions of this team. Thank you, everybody.
Well done, thank you. Thank you very much.
And yes, we have parting gifts for you.